the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100. Now, on this run that we've had essentially since the beginning of January, it's been primarily led by tech, and this has been the tone here on the channel. Is you can't really go short on tech until we at least get one, some bad data, two, we start making lower lows, three, we at least reject from making higher highs, and this is the stair-stepping trend that we've been on. Okay, so when we look at the chart, that's automatically what we see. We're here on the 4 hour to get a better overall viewpoint here. And as you can see, we had this ascending triangle, which we had marked out. You broke above this high. We're mounting once again, 1, 2, and pushing up even further. Now we go to about the 2 hour, look at the action that we had on today. And again, I would just say you continue to look impressive. Now there's fundamentals as well here, which we're going to talk about, but I just want to address some of the technicals as well. Now, before we get into that, I have to ask you to consider doing two things: liking and subscribing. Every single day I post videos here on the channel, so you are prepared. Fundamentals and technicals, trying to give you both sides of the story and the trade. So hopefully that makes sense. The Discord link is down below as well if you are interested. As you can see here, you can see everything that's included. If you're interested in getting around traders and actually learning the process with us, this is what I recommend. About 900 members in there right now, and we are still growing. This probably will get locked up going into summer, so take advantage of it while you can. Now, before we go crazy, before we go kumbaya around the Nasdaq and what's happening with stocks, let's talk about the bad news first. Now, the bad thing, the potential negative, has been the debt ceiling. It's not really, in my opinion, the worry of rates anymore. I believe based on current data, unless we get some more bad data coming out down the line, I believe we are going to pause at this next meeting. We had a few Fed members speaking today, and they spoke to the terms of it was very close at this last meeting, and right now most of them say they're on that fence of holding if data stays where it's at. That's their opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. And also, too, I would love to see your comments regarding this. We had a lot of comments on yesterday's video. And I'm going to start kind of bringing up some of the best comments every single day here on the channel. So if you do post down there, you'll probably start seeing your comments here every single day. Because, again, I do believe it's very important that we can also answer the questions that you guys post as well here on the channel. Because I don't want to just be me speaking from a podium. I want to be very much involved with you as well here on the channel, so we can hopefully hone in on big questions that we do have. Now, as far as fundamentals and news, this is the biggest thing I'm concerned about. Now, it's worth mentioning Biden did leave the country for the G7 meeting, but he put 2 people in charge of negotiating this while he's gone. Now, I'm going to say this right now, and people might take this the wrong way. They might be like, Tyler, you're a Republican. Tyler, you're a Democrat. I don't really know, but this is my opinion. I don't really believe Biden's in charge of negotiating this. Call me a conspiracy theorist, whatever you want. I don't care. Again, you come here really for my opinion, and I think I do a decent job at voicing why I believe some of the things I believe. I believe whoever he leaves to negotiate it, it is what it is, right? I don't believe that they're also going to default on this debt ceiling. I don't think they're going to do that, especially with Biden leaving the country now. It makes the Democrats seem very weak. And with a very big election coming up this coming year, I think the Democrats need all they can on the tally sheet to stand a chance running again. My personal opinion. So from a political strength point of view, I don't think we default. And I really don't think it since he left the country. Again, my opinion. Take it for what you will. I'll give you the exact information when, of course, we know by June 1st if we default or not, basically, because that's Yellen's little timeline. Now, going into the Nasdaq, again, this is where we're at. I continue to say the same thing when we look at these charts is if you continue to make higher highs and higher lows, can you really be bearish? I would say you cannot. So we can continue to see, you just mount, continue, you're breaking above, and look where we end the day here on the 4 hour time frame. You're just mounting previous highs that we had already established here on the 12th. Again, I'm not here to be a perma bull. I'm not here to to sell anything necessarily either. I'm here to just really give you a report on what's happening with the market and potential setups. Now, what have we liked over the past few weeks? We like tech. We like semiconductors. Those are the big bad boy names. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, but when we look at what's happening with those specific sectors, XLK, heavy tech, Microsoft, Apple, 2 of the biggest holdings here, each about 10%. XLK is very important because it's going to tell you where a lot of these big tech names are. They're already above August highs. What we were looking for, right? Last August highs, okay? boom, you're mounted above this. This is previous to Jackson Hole. Now, I will say the candle you're forming here isn't the most ideal, but you're still above that level and you still look incredible. We have to understand that. Now, we go a little bit deeper and we look at some of the semiconductors. NVIDIA today went absolutely crazy. Now, I will say you had that bull flag here on the daily. You broke out of it. Not the best candle. A little bit of a hanging man. It tried to form a gravestone, but you didn't get it going. But still very strong here. AMD, you hit 103 today, 103.5 almost. Very bullish. As long as you're above 100, I think you have to be an incredible, like a really big bull on AMD as well. So again, we're seeing these kind of formations happening in front of us. You know, Microsoft, right? Big AI craze right now. Hit local highs again, 313, 314. Amazon pushing up very high, almost 115 today. Google hitting our target, 120, 121. If you go back and watch some of these videos, this is not to say we're right, you're wrong, right? No, it's to just show you what we're looking at and why. Because ultimately the goal here on the channel is to educate, provide our logic to what we're looking for as well. I can say all day long, I like Tesla going to 180, but if I don't provide a thesis, provide some logic, then are you really getting anything from this relationship other than really trying to use this channel for immediate monetary gain? That's not the point here. And I really don't think you're going to succeed in anything you do in life if that's all you try to do is to take, rather than take and apply, or take and adapt, and take and learn, and take, maybe even lose and learn, right? You need to be doing something with what you're taking, not just taking, throwing it on your account and hoping things work out. There's two major differences there. And so when we look at how you're moving and how you're reacting, you know, you're coming into all the levels we mentioned, right? We said, you know, early May, right? Early May, April, Amazon, Google, longer term names, those are the buying opportunities. Those had some of the best runs over the past few days. NVIDIA, AMD, also top of the watch list. You broke above previous highs. And this is just to show you the technicals and how they work. When you are making new highs and mounting previous highs, you got to be bullish. And even still here on NVIDIA, you're still above 290. So it's like, yeah, you didn't make the best candle, but all in all, you're still holding massive levels. We have to understand that as well. You know, another name we mentioned yesterday, LRCX, again, inverted head and shoulders, pushing up. Today, you went to all the way up to 564. Yesterday, you were at like 530. You're going absolutely crazy. So these names are definitely pushing the agenda and making you money, and really following what we're looking for, especially, right? So we're not just shooting in the dark. You know, the plan's working here. That's the important thing to understand. We want to always be back testing and always make sure that what we're doing is making sense when we're looking at the market. Now, going into something like ES, you can also see here, I marked this out on SPY yesterday. It was also on YouTube or on Twitter as well, so you can go check that out if you want. You can see we're kind of making a little bit of a pennant here, still forming out. I mean, this is really where you're at. I had you like right here, but you saw the wicks below, and you're kind of just sitting here, not really doing much. Now, it did come to my attention as well as you are getting the little bit of the diamond reversal pattern. I am not a major fan of this. I'm going to tell you right now. But a lot of people do like it, so I assume you guys will like it here as well. But you can kind of, it just has that magnet on, but you can see that you're making that diamond reversal. It's not the prettiest, but it is still like kind of forming out there. And so traditionally what happens is you come up, make that diamond, it's like a pennant, and then you break back down. Again, I'm not a huge fan of these, but again, I just want to show you, be transparent, and show you both sides of it, potentially if it does play out. Now, again, if I'm looking at the market, what's one thing that I am not looking to go long on right now, right? What have I said repeatedly? If I'm looking to go long on the market, it's specifically tech names, Nasdaq, semiconductors. If I'm going short, I would prefer to go something like SPXS, you know, leverage SPY if I wanted to like straight up instead of going short on an SQQ or long on SQQ, right? I don't really want to go short on tech. I want to go short specifically on SPY and Dow because those are the names that are getting the most pain and definitely hurting the most right now. I want to focus on the areas of the market that are having the most weakness because again, I am very aware that with one print of bad data, one bad inflation read, the market will get slammed. You're going to have some bad days on the market. Okay. So you have to understand that and be prepared for that. So when I'm looking at this, I definitely want to be attacking the weak areas. And then when I'm going long, I want to be attacking the, the strong areas and focusing on those. So just food for thought when you're focusing there, okay? I don't want people to get caught up and just think you have to move in one direction and you got to keep going that way. Now, giving you a little bit of a visual on some of the stuff that we were looking at today. Now, my XLR cable on my mic, it went absolutely shot today, so I wasn't even really too much in Discord. I was just typing it out. It was mainly Jay. But Jay today was going berserk, right? He was focused solely on semiconductors and NVIDIA because they were leading so strong today. All day long, this is the only trade he took today. Just absolutely murdered it, right? NVIDIA, potential ascending triangle, right at 940 when you're at 293. Once it broke up at 293, they started going long, and as we all know, this thing ran to 298. It was absolutely a monster. It went crazy. You go look at gains and losses. People made a lot of money from AMD, which, was mentioned the other day. And then people also made a lot of money off of NVIDIA, which you can also see they're all just absolutely printing over the past 24 hours. Again, it's important to realize, though, we're learning along the way, though. And I want people to understand that when you're on this channel, the goal should not to be like, okay, well, they made money today, or this guy on Twitter made money today. Understand the process of what's happening here, right? If you're not actively learning, actively taking notes from these videos, actively trying to understand why things are happening or moving in the market, and you're just hyper focused on your thesis and, ultimately why, not even why you were wrong, right? Try to learn and understand why your thesis didn't play out, why things didn't work out for you, because that's going to be the game changer for you. Is when you start to really tweak, hone in, take notes on what you're doing, and focusing on how to get better. My favorite thing to say is getting 1% better every single day. So just understand that when you're stepping up to this table and you're trying to put in work and you're looking at these charts, understand, what am I doing wrong? How can I get better? And what do I need to do to get better tomorrow? Again and again. And that's the cycle here. So again, even if you're in Discord, if you're in someone else's Discord, whatever you're doing, right? I encourage you, take a step back, focus on what you're maybe not doing, what stopped you from getting into the trade today, and moving forward, hopefully, to understand and get better at what you're doing, right? That should be the goal every single day. And let's go over some stocks that we're liking here as well. Now, what I will say is Nasdaq, you had a nice push up today, 1355. You held basically 13.5 here at the end of the day. I still think you look good. I still think you look pretty strong, especially here like on the 4 hour, not the greatest candle, but the fact that you're holding above this like 13.5 range, I love. I still love. We need more information in the after hour session, but so far I still love it. ES, again, 41.38. It's a tug of war back and forth. I think there's no clear direction. We go into something like Dow, and again, I think Dow's been the weakest of the week. We continue to see Dow just continue to trend down. Now, today you had Home Depot earnings, and I wasn't a big fan of XLY and XLP. I think consumer staples and consumers discretionary. I believe that's XLP and XLY, right? So Home Depot, Target, Walmart, Costco, they kind of lump into both of those. That's the one sector that on earnings I think can all miss. I 100% believe so, because inflation is going to directly hit them and their consumer base and direct spending on those companies and brands. So you have to understand that. So I wouldn't, and someone in Discord was asking about like what I think about Home Depot earnings. I was pretty skeptical and I didn't like them at all. So Home Depot, worst earnings they've had in like, I think 20 years. I believe that was the number. So you had a pretty nasty dip. You spiked back, or you had a dip here. You kind of spiked back up here middle of the day. But you're still looking pretty terrible. Like you want to come down towards 265, which was that overall level down here that we had marked out. Again, and you've been rejected continually off that 200 daily SMA. I've been saying this on repeat, the dotted blue line. You can't really be bullish to get above that, and so that's something to take into account and to be watching. I definitely think Home Depot can come down further. Another name I like if you're trying to go short here is something like Lowe's. Lowe's typically moves weaker than Home Depot. I think Lowe's has a lot of room down as well, so take a look at those if you're looking at the downside play whatsoever. Now, going back into semiconductors, okay, not the greatest candle here. I'm going to tell you right now, but things to be watching. 100%, you want to be watching. How do we react from these previous highs here? Right? Do we hold this 292, 293? Can we maintain this? Can we stay here? If you can hold this, I do believe you're incredibly bullish. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. People are going to be like, Tyler, this is crazy. The PE ratio. I get it. I know. Some people just don't like what I say. It is what it is. If you maintain this level, I do believe you can bounce and easily push back up to 300 and 305 on NVIDIA. It's worth mentioning NVIDIA has earnings next week, so definitely something at the top of my watch list and has a lot of momentum going into it, especially with the overall growth from AI and everyone's overall viewpoint of what's happening with AI. AMD AMD, I think you hit a lot of your targets here, 102.5, 103. I'd be really careful. I'm looking to see if we're going to mount 99, 100. If we mount that again, extremely bullish here. We've been kind of waiting on this, and I think this is like the moment you've really been waiting for. LRCX, I still love it, to be honest. Short-term target, I'm going to tell you right now. Again, it's pretty aggressive. But short-term, looking towards 570 to 574. After that, 620 to 610 is your next target. The inverted head and shoulder is still playing out. One of the strongest names out there. It's not directly related to NVIDIA and AMD. It's more of a company that supplies them. So it's not as, it's different, but it's very similar to Fastenal and how they give the parts to these oil companies. So you have to understand that as well. So if you don't know anything about Fastenal, then kind of a bad analogy, but I still like LCRX and LRCX, and I still think they have a lot of upside here. Definitely be watching them. Going into something like Tesla, Tesla just had the announcement of their shareholder meeting today. You are basically flat in the after hours. They also are doing a lot of votes when it comes to Elon Musk and kind of seeing if they want him to stay in the position he's in. I think Tesla right now, this has been a terrible candle. I'm going to tell you right now, this was abysmal. You pushed up, you basically hit target number 2 within 10, 15 cents. You came back down. You're getting rejected at 170, 169. I think Tesla looks horrible. I think you have a lot of room back down. You have a daily gap as well at 163. So I definitely think that's possible to get filled. If I'm looking at the downside, I love Tesla towards the downside. I'm sorry. I know some Tesla, bulls out there. I'm not a huge fan of this right now. If we get back above 170, we can talk about the bullish case here. But until then, not really a fan. Apple, interesting to say the least. Okay. When we look at Apple, this is a tough one because I know there's a lot of questions here. You got that gap fill all the way down like a 167. Okay, really interesting. To see where you're holding there, you're holding previous highs at 171 essentially. Get almost a perfect bounce there, pushing back up, right? You did have the double top, which I called out in Discord and was showing people. But the problem with going and betting against tech right now is exactly this. You had that double top, you broke that median point there, and you bounce back up. The problem with going short on tech is it's the strongest area in the market right now. Everyone that's attacking based on a risk-on mentality is just throwing money in tech based on the upside potential over the next few years. And we look at where Apple is and we look at it based on the all-time high, but we're not looking at it based on the market. We're not looking at it based on inflation. We're not looking at it based on where we're going to be in 5 years and the future of this tech in the market. And I think it's hard to disconnect what's happening now to what it's going to be in the future. Now, as an investor, I think you have to be able to do that to do that at some point. But that's just my opinion here. I'm not really a big fan of buying Apple here. I'm going to tell you that right now. But if we go to something like the daily time frame here, it's not necessarily a bull flag. It really isn't. But the consolidation here isn't bad. Okay, just like when you retraced here from 168 down to 162, everyone was getting bearish, yada yada yada. You bounced and you went crazy, right? So just understand where we're at. Again, daily candles aren't incredible, but I'm not at the point to where I'm shorting tech yet. What do we need to short tech? We need bad data. We need indexes to make a lower low at least. We need maybe the debt ceiling to go under. We need some bad news to go short on tech. Until we get bad news, I don't think you can go short on tech. That's my mentality. That's what I've been watching for. I gave you a few setups short and to the upside. That's my opinion. That's what I'm watching. Have a good one, traders.